Okay, everyone, let's see if we can change some minds tonight. We're going to start this segment on our general strike update with a video because the original general strike, October 15th, seems to have splintered into a second movement called the Labor Movement X.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. My name is Sarah Haig, and I'm the new national chair for the movement that once was the General Strike, and we are now known as Labor Movement X. There's a link down in the bio. I joined the Discord server for the movement about 2 weeks ago after seeing a lot of posts online. I've been part of the working class for 15 years, and I'm getting real tired of waiting for change, especially after the pandemic. What I found was a lot of change. A lot of people were coming in like me, and some people were stepping down after seeing kind of the scope and the attention of what this has become. It started out as just something in America, and it's gotten to be international thanks to partners like Christian Galindo Ray, who I'll link down below as well. I wanted to address some of the initial concerns. The first was the logo, which does look a lot like the Black Lives Matter fist logo. So we have completely rebranded, and we have a new logo and a new awesome website. The second is concerns about intersectionality. Some of the comments that the excited young starters of this movement made, just from a lack of, I think, knowledge, and they are definitely taking that time to learn and grow from this process of getting to see what it is like to represent a really wide, diverse group of people. And the third is that strike, as we traditionally know it, where you either leave work, don't go in, do a sit-in, is something that is not safe or accessible for everybody. So while we will be continuing the strike message, that is going to be very broadly expanded. We'll be releasing our full revised research backlist of demands tonight at 5 p.m. Eastern time. And then the next few days, we'll be rolling out our action plans for October, which include tons of different information about what unions are, how you can join, what mutual aid is, how you can get support, and how you can go on strike in a bunch of different ways that will keep you safe, but keep you involved. So if you, like me, are tired of seeing people crying in their cars about not being able to afford food and gas, our planet burning in the wake of corporate greed, rampant homelessness when it would save 3 times as much money if we just gave everybody affordable housing, people having to go back to work the week that they give birth, people sitting by their loved ones' bedsides, trading for days off and starting GoFundMe campaigns. I would love if you join us in this fight. We're looking at October 15th as our deadline, not as, the day itself. So it's either going to be a celebration of our accomplishments and coming together, or it is going to be a protest of selfishness and corporate and governmental failure. So join our Discord if you want to get involved, sign the petition, and follow our social media, and stay tuned. We're listening, and we are ready to make incredible changes with all of the excitement and support that we've had. Have a great day. Take care of yourselves.
When you see that video, does it inspire you to be part of this new
100%, actually, yes, because so there's been a lot of conversation in the aftermath of the announcement of what I think is actually a really positive thing. Like, I still do, because I understand, like, while the concerns are totally valid for the most part, I don't think all the concerns are valid, but for the most part, there's a lot of good points people have in their pushback and stuff like that. But she just addressed like most, if not all of it, in my opinion. So if you're really about like labor movements and you're really about your criticism, when someone comes along, takes position, takes a hold of something, and then offers you avenues to address those criticisms, if you don't follow up with that, I'm not sure your criticisms were serious. I think maybe it might have been more ego driven, honestly. Like, so with that being said, I'll kind of leave it and let you jump in, since I know you're probably a little more well versed on the topic than I am. Not probably, you are actually.
Yeah, like, I mean, we discussed this obviously, but like being the one who like designed the segment, like, yeah, I did probably a little more thorough research than yourself. But so if you go to the website labormovementx.org, you see that they still have a strong stance on workers' rights, but the demands have slightly changed. Octoberstrike.com demanded a 25% corporate tax rate, free healthcare for all, 12 weeks paid parental leave, $20 minimum wage, a 4-day work week, and stricter environmental regulations on corporations. Labor Movement X has 10 demands, hence the X. And their demand is $15 minimum wage now, 100% cost of living by 2025. And, you know, I'm going to list all of them, but I'm like, I really respect that they're just trying to make realistic demands. And that
Yes,
saying like
100%.
15, but you better keep it increasing is, I think, a really good pitch. Past Medicare for all, no exceptions, 16-week parental leave, millionaire wealth tax, rent increases limited to inflation, student loan forgiveness of either 10K or 33%, 35% corporate tax rate, a carbon tax rate, and then businesses have to make public all salaries, including benefits. And then finally, 1.5 overtime pay rate for all hours over 35 hours a week is what their 10 demands are.
You just hit it. So, like, one of the biggest issues I have with any kind of movement where you're demanding something from people who have a power dynamic is unrealistic expectations, unrealistic demands, because you're fighting two battles. Number one, you have to get the public to fucking buy into what you're saying. And the reality is, whether we like it or not, there's a lot of people who unwittingly defend the oligarchs. So, number two, the demands have to be realistic in the sense that, on number one, people buy in on the Main Street level, but number two, it actually gives you like tangible things the oligarchs can respond to. Because if they don't respond to realistic requests, it gives you the PR needed to step it up, turn up the notch, do more. So this list right here, whether you agree with it or not, they clearly took feedback in, they surveyed the landscape, and they try to balance both realistic demands but inclusive, like being inclusive. And so, like, as far as I'm concerned, like, while I might, and I'm not saying I necessarily do, while I might take exception to certain things here and there, she's clearly trying to listen. She's clearly trying to research things and back it up with like smart analytical demands. And like, I'm all in on this shit, man. Like, well, and like I said before the video, there's been kind of like what I call 3 movements now. The original strike movement, which is pretty organic. The holiday strike, which is kind of born out of people pointing out fair things and then kind of, you know, revamping into something what I would say is actually better, right? Because it addresses some of the concerns. And then this right here, Labor Movement X, right? We'll call it just X to make it easy, which is what I call the third one, where it heard all of that and it expanded upon it. So there's no reason, in my opinion, to not support both the holiday strike, which addresses a lot of the concerns of the original movement in terms of who's going to take more of the blowback, who can be more effective, right? When it comes to consumers, workers, etc. And this movement, I buy into this shit 100%. So,
yeah, and the the website for the October strike has pretty much been the same since day one. Whereas this one has said, by this date we're going to have this on the website. By this date we're going to have this on the website. And yesterday they were supposed to have like a major update. Now I went to the website, that they haven't updated it yet, but like I don't think that means that this is dead in the water, right? But I love the idea that, like, with every few days, there's this goal to have resources. And in this case, it's like, union resources, mutual aid resources, public outreach guide, and a complete action plan. And that can't be something that's easy to coordinate. So good on them for trying to do it right, and like, I'm intrigued to see where they go with that next update on like what the movement's supposed to be. And my takeaway is basically, if something isn't working, adjust. And I don't think the way that the October strike movement was going wasn't working. It's one reason that like the holiday strike was like, so many people abandoned it to like promote the holiday strike, for example.
not just, sorry to interrupt, but not just so many people, but like in the spheres, and this is anecdotal, right? But in the spheres that me and you occupy, a lot of bigger people abandoned it to support the holiday strike. So
yes, 100%. And initially I thought these demands were like more ambitious, but it's not that they're more ambitious as much as they're just a longer list. And like I pointed out before, like they're clearly trying to get, like, it's just ridiculous. You can't go and be like, I think we should have $25 minimum wage, even though like that's what it would be right now if it was tied to inflation. But they're like, so like, we'll start with the 15. That's 10 years ago.
Hot take. I don't actually support like a $25 like national minimum wage, because like the reality is like, if you look at like the standard of living, like the salary you need like annually to like afford a 2-bedroom household in California, it's like you need to make like $39 an hour like to afford to, but like in Tennessee, you don't need to make that. So like realistically, there should be what I think the federal minimum wage should be. Whatever state, you know, you can gauge this. You look at the state who has, you know, the lower standard of living. That's your federal minimum wage, and from there, you allow locales to actually address it as need be. States, districts, things like that, counties. So, but to your point, this is why I actually like their demand, right? $25 an hour for the original strike movement. This one says 15 right now because you do need that across the board right now, and then it leaves open space to address the states, like I was talking about, and that goes down the board. So to your point, having more demands doesn't necessarily mean that you're asking for more, right? If the scope of the demands are reasonable. So.
Yeah, and I think that this time around, they're at least giving the illusion of like better organization, which the other, it had like a vibe that like there was no face to it. So like the fact that they're like, here's a face, here's names. Like
I
you go to
don't,
the website,
I don't,
they have
I don't,
people.
I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. I think a decentralized, faceless movement's better because it forces motherfuckers to step up and move shit. It forces
Not for inspiring people though. People.
But that's the
people
problem.
are
But that's the problem right there. It's like
they're looking for a leader.
I go back and forth, and here's the thing: I reserve the right to change my opinion. I'm pretty young. Who knows what I think when I'm 40? But like, I've found like inspiration is not external 95% of the time, and that's just me throwing a number out there. But for the most part, like I can only speak for myself. But like, as an athlete, as like a writer, as someone likes like tap into expression, as someone wants to like accomplish some things in life, like on a grand scale, like it's not outside noise that ever really pushed me. It was that internal motivation, that internal talk. And so if you don't like, I don't know, man. Like, so if you're not about like, so for example, she talked about it, right? She talked about how she's been herself personally impacted by these things. She's tired of waiting. She wants to act. That's internally self-motivated. If you don't have the self-motivation to be involved, I don't think it really matters what the message is, what the demands are, what the movement is. You're not going to care because you're self-motivated. You only see your own life. So it's like, I go back and forth on that, but I think the decentralized nature of it's a good thing. Because to me, like we're at the point in time where it's like, we're on such a strict timeline. I don't give a fuck about lip service. I got to know who's about it. And if you're about it, dope, let's do it. If you're not about it, get the fuck out. Go join the MAGAs. Go join the anti-vaxxers. Go join the apolitical. Go join the people who don't give a fuck. Because like we don't have time for like your wishy-washy bullshit. So I actually like the decentralized aspect of it because like either you step up or you don't, and it's real. And like there's something, and that's why you have that organic buzz because like people who actually bought in stepped up. It wasn't like, oh, they seem credible, so I'm going to follow them, which is an entirely different thing. If you want class consciousness, ultimately it has to be organic. So
okay, yeah, I'm so tempted to push back on this and be like, but I feel like I have examples to like
do it.
You'll
push,
see it from. Okay,
push back.
Okay, so like for example, if the Mute the Media TikTok was just a black screen with the text of everything that you say in your TikToks, do you think you would have the impact on inspiring people that you do right now?
No.
Okay, so that's my first thing about like people want a face. Second of all, the right has a face. It's a terrible face, and that's not like a ugly shaming. I mean, he's just like he's a monster, but they have Trump. The left does not have a face. How's the left doing, Matt? Are they doing great? Because I feel like they're doing horrible. And it's in part because they don't have an equivalent Trump. That's my pushback. Why it's good to have a face.
Oh God, I hate it. I hate talking to you because like you're actually like intellectual and you can offer real pushback. So my first part is that that's fair, right? Like 100%. Like the point, that's kind of like the point some of us make is like whether you like it or not, you do need to tap into that pathos, right? The emotional aspect, right? And what does that come from? Usually some fiery motherfucker. It's not the ideals they lay out, right? Because to your point, people are kind of sheep. They just follow a person sometimes, right? Because like the point I brought up is like if you look back at great movements in time. Do we talk about the movement as a whole? Do we talk about their set list of goals? Or do we talk about the figurehead and the myth around them? We talk about that, right? Which is shitty, but to your point, that's the reality. But that's why I was so inspired by this myself, because there was no figurehead. And that's why I think it generates some organic buzz. It's kind of a dual thing. So fair, right? But like I always say, there's no rule that's absolute. And so while oftentimes it's good to have like that central leader, I'm not sure that a central leader pushes back against my point about needing class consciousness to be organic. Because it goes back to the thing, like, I think some of the issue that communists get wrong, and take this for what it is, I'm not an expert on communism. Like, I'm not. I've read a few books, right? books on communism that are pretty important to the foundation of it, but a few books nonetheless, right? I think the issue is communists don't understand, in my opinion, and this is a big claim, that you're going to need some level of like authoritarianism, force, something to like implement the society. Some do get it, right? Your vanguard communists, right? Like you see movements at the state level that do this. Fuck it. Maybe you're right. Maybe we do just need some like Trump-esque figure on the left. Do we need a Trump on the left? Is that the takeaway from this?
Well, like, this is going to sound weird, but I'm like, I don't think that there's a problem in a society with a dictator if the dictator is inherently good. Now that's never going to exist. But that's the key. Is like, yeah, we need someone who's close to inherently good who.
So what you're saying is the system of government does not matter if the leadership structure is sound.
Yes. Well, and by sound, if you mean, yeah, as close as you can get.
More good, far more. Yeah. Well, you're not wrong. So if you had, you're not wrong. Name it: oligarch, democracy of some type, representative, direct, feudalism, right? Monarchy, direct fucking dictatorship. To your point, if the leadership structure actually gives a fuck, it doesn't matter because they're going to make sound decisions for the people.
100%. Yeah, it does not matter what the structure. I mean, like even capitalism would not be what it is if the people in power were inherently good. They are far from it.
But I give one caveat. The issue is certain structures don't allow you to move to the next generation as well as others, which is the problem. So.
But yeah, and then obviously the only other like pushback I have on this movement is of like they had 10 demands and like they need an 11th. They need to do universal basic income because raising the wage is only going to help those who are traditionally employed.
You know what I'd say? I would say keep the list, but on minimum wage, add that into that. Like, you know, they have like just say right there. And then in super parentheses, UBI would be ideal. Just saying, like, you know, something to that effect. Because like, I don't like consider myself a UBI expert. I'm pretty new to the scene on being in support of UBI. And I'll be honest, the first time I heard it, I was like, that's fucking crazy. But the reality is like, there's a lot of people who support UBI on the left, the right, and the middle. And even people who don't support the idea because they like, you know, respect people, they recognize the signs and they see what's coming. And even people who don't like the idea of just, you know, creating a society like where people have dignity, they don't like that because they're like venture capitalists and shit like that. Even the Elon Musks of the world understand the necessity for this if you want like the automation and shit to somehow not totally alienate your society and bring it into collapse. So 2 things. If you're a moral person, you should support UBI. If you're not a moral person, just look at the logistics of capitalism as it stands right now, and you should support UBI.
Yeah, I was going to say, let us know in the comments if you support UBI.
And if you don't let us know. Just go learn.